Hi, and welcome back to the Circles Theory on series on film and media. Today I want to return to the world of Borderlands, which I think is a fascinating series philosophically. It is filled with different Easter eggs, media concepts, philosophy quips, and all kinds of different neat stuff. And I think it's really interesting to talk about as I work on developing theory, which is my book, Circles Theory, a sociological perspective on society and its development. This channel is, of course, me developing that, talking about the book and different theories that impact it. So if you are interested, please stick around. There are plenty of videos to come Monday through Friday. But regardless, today I want to talk about specifically the expansion, Love, Death, and Tentacles, which I thought was phenomenal. I actually personally preferred the expansions in this game to the game itself. And I did a video discussing the game, but I think that there's a bit more to talk about. The game itself, philosophically, it tends to be about a changing of times, the death of an old guard. It's about transferring things to a new generation and adapting to a new way of being. The original game itself is philosophically challenging when it comes to the idea of the death of a cultural norm and the accepting of a new one. What we see in the expansions is a bit of nostalgia, and in this sense I mean returning to what we know and love. And I think Love, Death, and Tentacles is a phenomenal example of that. For a quick overview of the plot, spoilers ahead, what happens in this expansion is you are called to a frozen planet where your job is to help Hammerlock and Wainwright in their marriage, and they're having their reception and their wedding. But there has been all of this disruptive forces that are getting in the way. What you discover throughout it is a series of tentacle monsters and things and sorts that are all clearly influenced by H.P. Lovecraft, which I, of course, am a big fan of, as you can see by the tattoo on my inner arm. H.P. Lovecraft's work is the concept of cosmic nihilism. For a long time, humans like to believe we are the center of the universe, the biggest and most powerful force there is. But what H.P. Lovecraft does is suggest not only is this not true, but we are one of the smallest, weakest, and most insignificant forces that exists in this expanse. And this game tackles that idea as you constantly move through and are forced to deal with forces far outside of your reason or control. I find this to be an interesting follow-up to the game itself, yet again talking about the transfer of generations and realizing that time itself is destructive. So we see quite a few references throughout this. There's specifically that of American horror, which is a fascinating and interesting genre that deals with a variety of subjects, but we see everything from the works of Burton to Edgar Allan Poe, namely Lovecraft, and so we see quite a bit. I personally loved that there was a homage to Army of Darkness, which I thought was one of the most amazing horror films of my life. And interestingly, it actually ends up with a sci-fi quote. The achievement for completing the expansion is a quote from The Fifth Element, which is a sci-fi with Bruce Willis talking about the concept of love as its own specific element. So throughout this, we see this idea return. In the game itself, we're dealing with forces that are trying to take over. In this expansion, we're dealing with the idea of trying to live forever, which is a natural desire. We all wish to exist outside of our own time, but we are unfortunately bound to it. Our villain is one that is using ethereal forces to achieve this eternal life. And what we find are heroes that are willing to find something in this life worth living for, rather than clinging on in a desperate attempt to live forever without those that matter. We are centered around Hammerlock and Wainwright that have found what they need to be happy right here and today, each other. And personally, I find them to be a gorgeous couple, but that's a point for another day. So in summary, this game really is looking at what it means to give up and know that your time will come, that all things will turn to dust. It is in that way an extension of the original game, which is about the new thing coming on and trying to make sure we don't lose ourselves in it and die for something that matters. We see that theme continued with the concept of love, and we see that to be our prime theme. For those who have not just seen or played this, I highly suggest it. So to wrap up, every week we are discussing all kinds of different things. Mondays, we got literature and stories. Tuesdays, theory and philosophy. Wednesdays, mythology and folklore. Thursdays, film and media. And Friday, I'm giving updates on the writing of my book. I hope that you stick around. There should be a similar video in this. There should be a subscribe over here. Content every day. Please leave a comment. I'd love to discuss and have discussions surrounding philosophy. Until next time, this is me signing off.